good evening. Hoping everyone is good. I'm trying to think now on the timing element. This is my life, so I'm not conscious about people in other countries. Actually, I'm wrong. I am actually conscious about that. So if you're in a different time zone thing, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm talking about something that's a little, not a little, it is sensitive, but I think our attitudes to it are just very, I find us that as a people, or it is as a people and the culture, we are very relaxed. We're very docile in everything. And somebody calls it a casualness. I think somebody recently said it's a casualness. And we have a casualness to everything. And we only get active when something goes off. So on the other element as well, I would say we're casual, but we are very reactive. We're not proactive. We're very reactive as a population or as a country. And we are reactive only to solve problems when it arises. We are not people who plan or think ahead to say, in the event that this and this happens, Limby, let me be a bit careful about this, or let me put things in place that make sure that this doesn't happen. And because we are that way, we only react when something happens. And unfortunately, today there's a voice note that's going around, and it's of this mother. And I won't go into details. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play it. I just hope my sound is good enough for it. Now, it's 15 minutes long, but I think it's important enough. So I'm going to play it for that 15 minutes long. It won't even feel like you played it for 15 minutes. That's the sad thing about this. It doesn't feel like you listened to it for 15 minutes. It feels like you listened to it for such a short span. But it's really important. So I will start by playing that, and I hope my sound is good. If my sound is good, give me a thumbs up, I think, in the comment section, then I know that you're able to hear this voice note, okay? Because I'm playing from a different device onto a different device because I can't play it live on here. So I hope that it's making a sound. So especially for those that might not be in Zambia, this is what I'm talking about, and this is kind of making rounds on social media at the moment.
Greetings, my sisters. Hope you're all doing well. By the grace of God, I'm fine too. There's a request I would love to place, and I also need your prayers. Just recently, it's very hard for me to make a voice note, or even talking about this is quite difficult for me. So please just be attentive in case my voice is cracking. I discovered recently, as in Saturday, I guess last Saturday, I noticed certain things about my little boy. He just clocked 6 last month. There's some certain things I noticed about him that were off. And so, as a parent, there are those instincts, things that will just tell you that something is wrong somewhere. And another thing that was a red alert was, I noticed it's been a long time since I saw him go to the toilet. Like he could actually come and say, "Mommy, I need tissue, I want to go to the toilet." But it all stopped. So I wondered. And not only that, him and his best friend, another small boy, they kept sodomizing themselves, sleeping together. So I took a whip, I disciplined him. I didn't know where that was coming from. So I disciplined him. I thought maybe it would stop, but it did not stop. I even went to tell the mother to the same boy, the friend to my son. And another thing I noticed was that my son would fart a lot. From time to time, he's farting. So there was that factor also. So I was, one day on Saturday in the afternoons, I was in my bedroom. I was just wondering, what is wrong with this boy? I had this burden in my heart. And I was deeply convinced that something was going on. So I just got up from the bed because I couldn't even sleep. I got up from the bed, went outside, went to look for him, and I called him. he came with a friend. I found him with the friend. So I sat them down and I started interviewing them. I told them, this thing that you keep doing with Musonda, where did it come from? Who taught you this thing? Who taught you? Then my son was like, Mommy, it's the devil. So I said, no, the same devil who's going to take you to hell. What about? Somebody must have taught you guys. Who is it? Then my son was like, it is Calisti. Calisti is the neighbor's boy. He's around maybe 7, maybe 8, maybe 9. But with me, I was not convinced that it could be Calisti because I know Calisti's character. So when I interviewed further, I discovered that it was not Calisti actually. So when I told my son stuck to his guns, and he told the friend to say, Msonda, tell mommy that it is Calisti. You see, he was trying to convince the friend to say it was Calisti so that I would focus on Calisti. So when I said, okay, since you don't want to tell me, I'm going to come and tell teacher. So now that was sort of a breakthrough because my son now opened up and said, no, mommy, it is Clever. Now, this Clever is a 13-year-old boy. He's my neighbor's son. Actually, the elder brother to this small boy who's my son's best friend. So he said, Clever was doing me. I said, Clever was doing you. He said, was doing me behind. So I was like, how many times did you do that? And he said, 10 times. So now I'm like, you never know, kids can count anything. You don't know what method they are using to count. So I tried another way. I said, where was he doing it? He said, oh, this time he took me by their sitting room on the chair, and Musonda was just watching. He didn't touch Musonda. Musonda was just watching. Another time he took me to their bedroom, put me on their mattress, and started doing me. So my son gave a very, the details are just so disturbing. He gave me all the details, how he told me how this boy was sodomizing him. So now I asked the friend also said, yes, he's Clever. So now my son said, even Musonda, Bernard was also doing him. So as the interview progressed, because at this point my son only mentioned 2 boys, 13-year-old, they are twins. They've been sodomizing him. And so he ended at these 2. After he bathed in the evening, we sat in the sitting room. It was just me and him. And then he starts telling me again and said, Mommy, even Kairu, even Jaffe, these are boys around the same age. Although the other one is 11, the other one maybe could be 12 or even 13 as well. So 4 boys were sodomizing my son. You see, I was so hurt. I was so disturbed. I'm still disturbed. And so when I went to tell my neighbor, the parent to the boys, she just told me it could not have happened in her house. And so I went to tell the mother to this other boy, Japhet, and Japhet went into self-preservation mode. He now started revealing, because even him has been sodomized for a year plus, if I remember very well, this Japhet of a boy. And so these boys have been sodomizing kids in our neighborhood. A lot of kids have been sodomized. It's just that my own came out and revealed this thing because of my being alert. And this is something that I really love. For others to learn on. You are all big girls. You're women, you've got kids. Please be sensitive to certain things. Talk to your children. Draw them close. Find out what is going on with them, so that something like this will not drop on you. Because me, I never thought something like this could happen to me. So I took my son to the hospital. They did some tests, and then they asked for us to do some other tests, of which I didn't have. I didn't have the money because they asked to pay for these other tests. Because he just needs a full checkup and some exams he needs to do them. And so we came back from the hospital. I had gone with the mother to Japheth, the other boy who had also been sodomized. And so we had the meeting with the parents, and our resolve was that these boys should undergo counseling from the victim support unit. And so we went to the victim support, and the parents came, because the father to the boys is someone who's overprotective of his boys, and he does not discipline them. He's come across this thing twice. He has known about it, and he's experienced, he found his kids doing the same thing 2 times on 2 occasions, and he has never taken steps to discipline them. The wife was there, she mentioned the same thing. So now at the police, they did an interview on the children. They told us to leave the room, me and the other mother, and just remain with the other parent, the father to the same boys. And they interviewed the kids. And so you see, when they called us back, I had to go through the information again from the mouth of this boy. These 2 boys, they gave graphic details about what they've been doing to my son. And the most painful thing, they said they could not count the times. They couldn't count the times that they've been sodomized my son. The police asked him, said, how many times? He said, I cannot even count the times. He said he cannot count. And there are 2 of them, not to mention the other 2. So now, my son was telling the truth when he said 10 times. He had said 10 times. So this boy could not even count. They asked him, where were you doing this? He said, at our house. The mother refused. She said it never happened at her house. So now the boy gave witness and said, yes, it was at our house. And so the police said, try counting the times. The boy said, I cannot count. It is so many times. This thing is so painful. It's so painful. When I look at my son, I feel so helpless, like I've failed him. When I'm alone like this, the pain just comes back. And him being a small boy, he would just say, Mommy, even at this place they did this. They took me there. He took me this place and he did it. There was nobody there. Which place is that? I don't even know the other place where the other boy was taking him. So I'm just so heartbroken. I'm so heartbroken. I don't know how I can help my son. I don't know how I can help him. I can only pray for him that spirit, that demon should not continue in his life. So please, I am asking, take care of your kids. Pray for your kids. You don't know what is happening under your noses. Pray for them. Talk to them. Find out what is going on with them. Otherwise, this thing that has befallen me is so painful. My husband, when I told him about it, he was crying. He says, Mommy, this thing has messed me up. So, I don't know what somebody would say. Maybe you've got counsel. Maybe you've got suggestions. I would really appreciate. And not only that, I've got a plea. I need to finish his medical tests. I need to have him thoroughly checked up, because I suspect maybe his rectum is damaged. Just a while ago, because of late, I've been asking him if he goes to the toilet. I encourage him to go to the toilet. And so he had gone to the toilet, but now his back was all messed up. The feces were just like he had sprayed himself with the feces. So I don't know if his rectum is working very well. So please, my sisters, I really need your help. Whatever you can put up so that I finish the test with my boy. And not only that, I would need to get him things to distract him. Maybe I get him some toys, things that will just take his mind off from wandering, thinking about what he has gone through, or maybe something that will contain him, that will keep him at least home where we can monitor him. So please, I am imploring this. Please help me out. Those that can, I really appreciate. And those that can give me counsel, I also want to covet your prayers. Put this boy in prayer. Pray for my son that he may come out of this. And parents, please let this be a lesson to all of us. When schools open, I've been advised by the police to raise an awareness campaign to educate my fellow parents about this evil, because it is going on under our noses and we are not aware. So please, I am asking, I'm making a request, help a sister out. God will definitely bless you. And me and my husband, we've decided we are going to leave this house. Although it is a family house for my husband and we've not been paying rentals, which has helped us also to be able to do some other things. But now we're going to have to leave, because at least maybe if we take him to another place where it's less dense, less populated, we might be able to monitor him quite well. So that is my plea. Really, I'm going through a very sad situation, but by God's grace, I am holding up. Pray for me. God bless you all. Amen.
That's unfortunately a really sad. It's a sad story. You actually feel unfortunately you feel so close to her, because obviously it affects you whichever, whether you're a parent or you're not a parent. You know of small boys in your neighborhood who are always hanging together, and now you're wondering, those small children, when they go to that house, and it's made even me think a lot more than I probably should be thinking about something. And the unfortunate realistic thing is that we are all to blame. And I know I've seen the trends over social media. Everyone is, we're supposed to be doing this is this, and this. And I just think, guys, come on, let's get real with life. It's everyone's problem. It's everyone's fault. And I think we are so relaxed. Even when we're meant to be serious about things, we tend to make things very, we take things very light. And I know we are Christian. I totally get the Christian element. But I think you cannot go through parenting thinking nakula paper. There's things that you really need to be active about, and parenting has to be, it's a two-way stream, a father and a mother. But unfortunately, we have separated this whole, the home. We've separated it. We've said there are roles in homes. So because it's roles, well, it's okay. My roles. So bawishi whenever kubika mofedini, the wife carries basa fiareba kusenda. That's what we've done. We've separated the roles, and unfortunately, in that separating of roles, we have made fathers very. I'll be very blunt, so forgive me, but we have made fathers idiots. That's the term I will use. And I think we've made fathers idiots because what we've said is that fathers are just for making money, money making machines. And then the real in-person fatherhood twalifunyapo. As long as he's gone mukupanga mpia bena padiba DSTV panganda, there's a TV going on, there are toys at home, there's this and that. It's very fine as long as impia pamante and shile ingirakai wa wish bena money making machine. We are very fine with that. That's what we've done. And as fathers, because it's them, they're just money making machines, they've negated the sex talk. It has nothing to do with them. You will never find the Zambian father, very few. I'll be bluntly honest, there are very few fathers who will have a time, probably maybe bathing a child, because so whenever you will never find a father bathing a child. Rarely will you find a male father, a father bathing a child. One, we have gotten it in our heads that a father is going to easily abuse the girl. So not, even the girl, he can't bath the girl, because in case he abuses the girl. We've made fatherhood very, very easy on our male folk. They just do nothing. The thumb, that's the strongest muscle in their bodies as they flip the channels on a TV. But we never actually ask for a father to do the fatherhood in person, proper relationships, that a father can sit with a child and be open enough to say, look, somebody shouldn't touch you that way. Now, if a father doesn't bath a boy, at what point is he going to say, look, when somebody touches you here, you're not supposed to be touched? That conversation cannot happen per sitting room chair. It's supposed to happen in a bath, where a father can say, I'm bathing you, but nobody should touch you there. You are supposed to, only you should touch yourself there. Very few fathers do we find doing this. There's a generation I know which has really changed, and it's a really nice thing, but I still think there are few fathers giving their sons or daughters baths. There's nothing sexual about a father bathing a daughter, but we have made it so sexual that now it's the job of you as a mother. No one can touch you there. But you see, the father, when a father says something, it hits different. That's why you find mothers saying, why? Because there's a certain level of, when a father educates you a certain way, it just hits different. And it becomes law sometimes. A child will be really able to no, my dad said this, so I will listen to it. Even though the mother said it and you would listen to it, but you see, because you're spending so much time with your mother, some things feel like watered down. You see. But it's so important that fathers do their part in this game. Mothers can talk about it. They can enforce protection. But I'm telling you, the father saying it just hits different. But we are no longer allowing fathers to say what they're supposed to say. Because we've negated them just okay, you make the money. As long as you bring the money at the month end, it's okay. And worse off, even though we're saying, okay, as a mother, as a mother, you talk about it. But mothers are protective in nature. To be honest. Why? Because sometimes we think my child is an angel, so he's very innocent. Now you're forgetting that the world is very wide. You are thinking but the child, obviously has seen it. And that's sometimes the unfortunate thing about mothers, because they're so protective. You protect your child even when you're meant to be saying, because just saying no one should touch you here doesn't make sense. Touch you how? Right? Because there might be a time where maybe the boy needs to go to the toilet and somebody needs to, I've done this before where my nephew needs to go to the toilet, but he can't get to, the toilet is too high. So I've no option but to touch him to help him wee. Now, if you just tell him, no one should touch you here, in what way? And sometimes mothers, because mothers are protective, the age thing is very, I trust the motherhood thing, but I equally think that mothers sometimes are too lenient on children. That's why it's very easy. There are so many places where you find a mother disciplining a child, but the way they'll discipline the child, I'm thinking, it's because a mother is protective in nature. And you water it down because you still think it's my baby. Kylie, this is a darling, my baby is an egg, and you will never but if a father says it, I think the father says it in reality, it hits different. And I do understand that the education system helps, but I think the education system also is so outdated. It matches the time. I don't know how many years ago that sex education is appropriate. It doesn't match us. Times have moved on. The world is so global, conscious. Everything is online. Any sex is easily accessible with a click on any device. And you can try to be clever. You can say, I'm going to put protective measures on my devices so one laptop will not see it. Kids are so clever. They know how to go around things. I remember when I was growing up, there were kids who had gone around the DSTV protection system. I don't know how, but they would proudly tell you that what they'd watched last night when their parents went to sleep. Kids are so clever. So even when the education system is so outdated, I'm looking at you and saying, why should the government look into it? The government is not raising your children. And any system in the world where the government has taken over, the education of children or anything. It's detrimental. Those are the places where you find children are in systems, in foster care and all sorts of things. Why? Because you handed over the education of your children to governments. Is that what we want? We want you want your children with you. In many nations, small mistakes, even that mistake that lady is talking about, that child will be taken off her. She's just lucky she's in Zambia. In other nations, child protection services would have gone in and taken that child off her and said, you can't take care of your child. You're not responsible enough. All those children, hers, the neighbors, all those children that boy keeps mentioning would have all been taken off them. That's what happens when you give the government the power to raise your children. And so even when we're talking about the government, in a lot of discourse I've seen today, everyone's saying, oh, the government. My friends, if you give the power of educating your children to the government, they will take the children off you. And a system of raising children in foster care or in government care is going to bloom up. We don't have that. We're very lucky and blessed. The education system, I know people are talking about comprehensive sex education. Why do you want comprehensive sex education when the child has a mother and a father at home? Because the mother and the father should be doing that comprehensive education. You as parents, you know what your child can grasp. There are certain children that you can look at and you find that, I'll give you an example. My nephew currently already knows colors. My child already knows colors. He's only 2, he turns 2 in September, but he knows colors, he knows numbers, he knows so much in education. If you ask him, where do you weave from, he knows where he weaves from. So it tells you that kid can grasp so much at that age, he's able to grasp that. Some children are so slow on the uptake. Others are extra fast. They're even faster than what my nephew is doing. So when you're educating a child, you've got to gauge how much the child can grasp. Now, in education system, it doesn't account for that. And even when we talk about comprehensive education, in the nations where there's comprehensive education, there is still this abuse going on. In fact, there's higher rates of abuse. There's child trafficking, there's child molestation on such a high, rate again. So even the comprehensive education doesn't help. It falls back on you as a parent. We can't negate sex education to schools, to the government, to comprehensive education. We are just failing our children, always moving the blame. And that's what we do. Our culture is very funny. It negates blame all the time, if you've noticed. If I, even at my age, I'm an adult, and I do something stupidly wrong, they will still say it's my parents. They'll say, I've heard terms like, those silly terms, the things that are very, we're always negating the blame. And we're saying, no, it's not our fault. Let's pray. Now, we can pray, that's true. But it's active. You've got to be active in doing certain things. That's why God says he blesses the works of your hands. Why? You need to do something. Then if you make the effort to raise your children right, because some of this is what you've done. You've thrown God out of the way. God is now negligible. So we've thrown him out. He's not needed, especially if you have the money for it. He's not needed. Okay? Now, you negate God, who is the higher being. You negate your own education. You say it's a school, it's the government. That's what we've done. So even when you're saying you're praying, you only pray when you're having problems. Before you have problems, you don't pray. God is negligible until you have a problem, it goes back to what I was saying that, Zambians were very reactive rather than proactive. So we're not taking children to the right places. We're not taking children to churches. We're not taking children anywhere. And then on top of that, we don't have relationships with our children to say, look, if you're very open with your children are able to tell you anything. I have a relationship with my parents where we were able to ask the silliest questions. And a couple of days ago, I think I was speaking to one, I'm trying to remember who I was speaking to, and I was saying, you see, some of the things that I was protected from as a child was because we openly went and asked our parents. It was ridiculous. If I tell you some of the questions we asked, now I'll be graphic here. Imagine my sister asking my father about pulling the labia. It sounds ridiculous. In fact, why would you ask your father? But you see, when you ask your father, I'm sure he must have struggled with this question, but he was able to tell us the truth. You were able to know what it was for. Because some of the cultural things, like I said, that culture is very funny. It negates the blame. It says, now that you're of age as a girl, you don't need to talk to your father. Now, that's the time you really need your father to tell you about the men folk, isn't it? But they tell you don't, so they block you again. Then it's again, as a man, it means to you as a woman, so you're the one who's supposed to tell the child about sex education. So what we do again, when negate the father is, is out of the way. As your mother, I can't talk to you about sex. Now, if you don't have your auntie, now if you don't have an auntie wife, and another element, that culture was okay in their days when people were still before the mines. Now, how many years is it before the minds where people were living in villages where you could say, the world moved, people moved around. So where am I going to find Vanokosenge in town? Where Vanokosenge stays in Dola, you are in Lusaka. You know, that's the downside of culture. And we need to be very clever and sieve out what culture we can apply, what culture we cannot apply. The times have changed so drastically, we cannot be following some of these cultures. And we are to blame because we're still upholding these cultures, especially women. I don't understand why women are so, I will use the word dense. But we as the women are the worst because we constantly enforce these cultures thinking this is our identity. But we are killing ourselves. You can't enforce a culture. The culture is just too, it negates. I'll give you an example. The lady in the video says, I went to the police and the police told me that I should, when schools open, I should go and begin sensitizing people. Why are you negating the, and you see, our culture even moves into the professional life. So what these policemen have done is they have now negated their job because this is the police's job. The police are not actually even supposed to perform roadblocks. All that rubbish that they do on roadblocks, they are supposed to be in the communities. They are the ones who are supposed to be sensitizing the community. If a policeman walks into, I'll give you an example. Let's say a policeman walks into Kuku compound and he stands somewhere and begins talking about sexual abuse and what to watch for. You think the community are not going to listen? He's a figure of authority. Why should this poor woman who's already traumatized have to go into the community to begin sensitizing people about sexual abuse? It's not her job. It's the police's job. But you see, our culture is very good at that, where we keep pushing, our responsibility to other people. This is the police's job. The sensitization element is the police's job. The teaching of the children in the homes, it's your mother, it's you as a mother. The government can put things in place, but they are so slow on policy. Our education system is, I don't know how many years old, and that's why it's so out of date. I got really shocked. I think I went to this particular school and they had like a sex education lesson one time, and I walked into this place and I found live models, and I was thinking, okay, why are we looking at? But you see, that education matches their environment. They want to tell you what it is exactly that a woman has. So the woman is going to be there on that examination table and her legs are open, and they'll teach you that because it matches it matches their community, it matches their culture. That's why it's appropriate. Now, if I did it here, it doesn't match. So even when we're demanding comprehensive, I'm asking myself, do you people know what comprehensive sexual education really is? I'm asking myself if we really know. And even when we're asking for this, no, we need this. It doesn't apply to our culture. We need education systems, or especially, let's say, like this topic that matches the current culture that we have at our level. All right. There's no way. I'll give you an example, and this is why I'm saying we are to blame. There is no way you are going to give your child a phone, a smartphone, by the way, or because he needs to communicate with me. I'm sorry. That's why they're Roger phones. And when I say Roger, I mean, that my basic, the phone is just for calling. That's what you're supposed to give your child if that's what you just want. But you see, what has happened is we're very well to do. We have money and we think, I need a phone. I want my child to, to be able to contact me. So here's a smartphone. You think your child is not going to go to school and his friends are not going to top up their phone and tell them what to do on a smartphone. We're to blame for this. Every one of us is to blame for this. The entire culture, the nation, the education, we are all to blame for this. And until we begin to be proactive in a lot of our issues instead of being reactive, we will have more and more of these issues spring up. Because I'm going to go back. Imagine the father of the abusers says, apparently he's very protective. He's seen this twice and he hasn't said anything. Why? What is so special about his children? He doesn't, and by the way, he doesn't discipline them, but he's very protective. I don't know. Maybe I went into overdrive. I just think he's an abuser. Those kids saw that from somewhere. And why is it that the wife then said, it has never happened in my home? Is she there 24/7? She's not. She knows that her husband is an abuser. I'm very sure. I don't know. And I do apologize if I'm wrong, but I'm very sure that woman, and that's what I was saying, they'll find the wife is actually protecting the husband. Why she's protecting the husband is beyond me, because we are always protecting cultures. We are the ones who actually enforce these things. And I just felt really bad for the lady when she says, oh, I explained to my husband and he cried and he said, this is very hard for me. Okay, if it's hard for you, what are you doing about it? Moving house is not going to solve this issue. There are abusers everywhere in the world, including in your own homes. So instead of even solving the issue, it's just proactive. Let's run, it's flight. It's not let's solve the issue. What do we need to do? That's just the tragedy of us all. I'm thinking, and I can pick up like on social media, everyone is saying do this, do that, do this, do this, but the solution isn't even in doing this and doing. It's taking responsibility for actions. We are never taught to take responsibility for our actions. We can have children, but we say it takes a whole village. I'm so sorry. I don't believe that way. It takes a whole village to raise a child. I think that's a whole lot of nonsense. It's not the whole village was raising Umwana. It doesn't now. I will wake up in the morning. It's not my responsibility to tell the child that's outside messing up that it's you. Can you behave yourself? They want. I might touch him and beat him, and then the next thing is I'm the one who's in prison. The world has evolved. We've got to really move with the times. We've got to really change our mindsets. It's just, and I've seen, the funny thing is that I equally saw fathers talking about protecting the boy child. Yet when women talk about feminism, which is, equipping girls, making them at par with the male gender, the men normally say, "Oh, you want equality, right? You can also pick up the bag of cement." Men have strategically chosen the toxicity of feminism. That's what they forward. They never talk about the positives. But we're able to see the positives now because if we've been pushing for feminism, which has included the protection of girls, it has included the protection, empowering of girls, we're able to see the benefits now. But you see, the men didn't do their job as fathers. They were, no, okay, it's not their job to raise the children. No fear, no if that is your job. So now there's a problem with the boys. And still I've seen fathers who are saying it's the mothers. The mothers have become very relaxed. I'm thinking, relaxed. You don't do nothing about fatherhood. It's just it's a sad situation. And I can tell that this is all of us who have not done our parts. It's the communities. We have held silly cultures. Even in the video, if you're not, the woman is only talking to women. She's not talking to fathers. She says, "My sisters, we are grown-up girls." Well, you're grown-up girls, yes, but even your husband is a grown-up man. Why have you left him out of this? Because I would expect that video to be made by the two. But she still negated it. It was, okay, my sisters. And it shouldn't be like that. Parenthood isn't just a mother's job. It's both. It's a father's job. It's a mother's job. And we need to take that a lot more serious. That men are not just money-making machines. And that's why they even die early. They've got so many stresses from work, whatever. And then they die early because they've believed that they're the ones who are supposed to do everything. You as a wife, you just take the job of the active. You want more like exerciser. So you're exercising and you're leaving long because you're exercising. But you're forgetting that you still need that man. We really need to get the fathers on board. We can't just be talking about feminism and then we leave the men. What is the outcome? It's time that fathers too, you cannot be laughing at feminism. We have done our parts as women by empowering, by equipping girls, by making sure that we are always aware that girls need to be done. But you as men, you were laughing at us. And especially you are fathers. That's the worst part of it. You're the ones who are the fathers at the moment, but you've been laughing at feminism and belittling it. And what we've done is we've protected the girl, but we have left the boy. And now it's the mother's fault. Now, in fact, you're saying it's everyone's fault. We have neglected the boy. No, we didn't neglect the boy. You as the men and the fathers, you neglected your responsibility as fathers and you didn't raise your boys. Or you're not raising your boys. And because you've negated that job, now we have such problems. And it's a wake-up call to everybody. I hope she gets as much help as she needs because she does need a lot of help. I hope she gets the help that she needs. And the help that she needs is everybody doing their part and not just writing nice articles, because that's what's going to just happen about this. There'll be just nice articles. People are going to talk about it, media, on and off, and then because that's typical of us Zambians. When something happens, we talk about it, we then that's it. Nothing really comes out of it. But the boy child needs a lot of protection. He needs a lot of education. He needs a lot of fatherhood. Otherwise, what is the point of having a father? I look at it and I always say, look, the fatherless child in America is still the fatherless child here in Zambia. The worst part of the one in Zambia is that and everything. Whereas the one in America might just never see the father, don't know where the father is, or the father is absent. And we think that it's okay, but we're actually messing the children even worse uliwa kwa America dishwa takwa bawi batata, so it's okay. I'll make do. I'll find a way. Oh, dad, and you can still call them dad. And we're just really messing up our boys. We need a lot more education, a lot more inputs from the men, and it has to be done together. Just because you don't feel okay about talking about sexual education doesn't mean that, are you gonna die? You've just got, it's your child. If you were man enough to have a child, Ndala, be man enough to equally raise your child and educate your child. It can't be a woman's job only. It can't be the school. And you negate the sex education talk to a teacher. Now, you don't know what the teacher's sexual background is. What if I'm just giving an example here. What if your child's teacher is homosexual? So it means the education they're going to give your child is going to be colored by what they perceive is sexual education is. You get me? Then the others who are going to be, imagine your child's teacher is very Christian, she's very pious, the sexual education coming from the teacher's mouth. How sure are you that the teacher did teach your child that comprehensive sexual education that we're really wanting? Then the others who are very open, they just bluntly, they'll just say everything out, blah, 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 blah. How sure are you that your child was prepared to hear that rubbish? If your child hasn't Africa age to grasp that type of sexual education, it falls back onto you as a parent. It is your job as parents. Let's just teach our children. Let's take it our responsibility to teach our children in our homes about sexual education. We can't negate the education to everyone, every Jim and Jack. That's why I'm so against that whole thing when you get to the marriage stage and then you have your aunties all start teaching you, hey, my friend, where are my uncles? Where is my father? So it's all our fault. Let's just stop this whole, it's this one, it's that one, it's this. My friend, it's everyone's fault. Let's just do what we're supposed to do as parents and stop negating it to anyone and and everyone. This is everyone's fault. Let's just be more proactive than reactive. That part is so important. And that's what I really wanted to talk about. And I'm just hoping that the lady gets the help she needs. I'm a little confused. I thought that sexual abuse cases, you got free treatment in the hospitals. So I don't know. Maybe she's gone to a private, maybe. But I thought in your local government hospitals, you got your any health, whatever, when it's a type of a case like abuse, I thought you get services for free. Maybe I'm wrong. But I hope she gets the help. And I know she has to be private about it, obviously, to protect herself and her child. I just hope she gets the help from the right people and that somebody reaches out to her and she gets the help that I know she desperately needs the help. So thanks for listening. And I hope that as many of us take responsibility and we don't negate the responsibility to other people. So thank you and have a good evening or a night.